Square Enix had a surprisingly enjoyable presentation. A lot of reveals that I did not expect, a lot of games that I did not think were coming so soon, and just overall, just a very enjoyable presentation. So let's just get into it, I guess. I cannot say that I expected to see this so soon. I remember hearing about this Guardians of the Galaxy game a few months ago, or maybe I'm guessing, maybe more than a few months ago, maybe like half a year ago, I'd say. I heard about this game at some point recently, and I just thought it was in development. I didn't think it was ready to ship out in October, but here we are. They're dropping a Guardians of the Galaxy game. Marvel's Avengers is also a Square Enix product, so people will have their gripes and people will have will be scared that they'll butcher it and that it'll be bad, or whatever opinion people had about Marvel's Avengers, which I'm not here to disagree with you. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong or right. I'm just saying that's the general consensus about the game, that it wasn't great. But as opposed to that, this Guardians of the Galaxy game looks to be a single player adventure instead of like a games as a service co-op type game. In this game, you only play as Star-Lord, and I'm gonna say right now, I am a massive Marvel fan. Like, I love everything Marvel. I'm completely biased to shit 100% for everything Marvel. Movies, comic books, games, everything. Like, I just buy off for it, no doubt. But this looks fun. Take that however you want, but this game looks fun. And it looks a lot more fluid than Marvel's Avengers. I don't know if you know what I mean exactly, but this game just looks, how could I say, more focused, I guess, maybe? Honestly, this is probably what Marvel's Avengers should have been. Not a games as a service, like I said, but just a single player adventure, a single player game, where instead of, being like a looter type game, it should have just been you playing different Avengers, doing story missions, not necessarily trying to collect loot and stuff like that, not doing the same thing over and over and over again. I can already foresee, though, that people will disagree, or dislike rather, the fact that you can only play as Star-Lord. And I understand, and also we're not sure that you can only play as Star-Lord, but the way that the trailer is talking about it, you can literally only play as Star-Lord. That's what they're making it sound like. That's what the gameplay looks like too, because you'll probably see it in the background. But when you're fighting with Peter, you can kind of choose who in your party is attacking. You can choose between Rocket, Groot, Gamora, and Drax, and each of them have 4 different skills that they can use on enemies. So it looks like, although you can't use the other characters, they also have their own skills, and you can kind of use them in a sense, right? You can kind of direct them in a sense, which again, I think this is what they should have done for Avengers. It would have been a lot more fun if it was like instead of a co-op game, it was just a game where you play by yourself and you can dictate what your partners do, what your allies do. I also think the fact that you only control Star-Lord enables them to kind of flesh out the gameplay a little more with just Star-Lord, instead of kind of spreading out and doing different things with different characters. I think it's just better for the game that you're only controlling one character, because it'll be a lot more fleshed out. And like I said, each other Guardian has 4 skills, but that might not be all there is to it. You can probably cycle through a different set of skills and equip different sets of skills to each Guardian, so that in the end, everybody can kind of have their own, I guess, personalized style of play. I don't know. It just looks like a better way to handle an Avengers type game, a team up type game, a Marvel team up type game, is what I'm trying to say. They also went through the trouble of showing so much gameplay. They didn't have to show, they could have showed half of what they showed and it would have been way enough. They spent, I'm not even sure, like 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes on this game, just showing off essentially just gameplay. And they showed off there's like story decisions you can make. Apparently there's a karma system in the game. Not sure how impactful that's going to be, but I'm always kind of skeptical of karma systems, but they're cool to have. But realistically, usually they don't change that much, and especially in a game like this, I really doubt it'll change all that much. All that to say, this game looks great. The gameplay looks great. It looks like they've maybe learned from their errors with Marvel's Avengers. I don't foresee this game having the same problems as that one. I foresee it being a very big success, and I cannot wait to play it. You can X around now, say the same thing. Speaking of Marvel's Avengers, they revealed some DLC, or at least they had already revealed the DLC, but they revealed some more of it, I guess. This time, they're still trying to revive the game, And this upcoming batch of content looks promising. I'm just not sure that it'll be enough. They've been trying to revive this game for months and months, and maybe a year at this point, maybe even more than that. I think it's been a year at this point. Or no, probably less than that, but they've been trying to revive this game for a while, and it hasn't really worked. That's also due to the fact that the two first DLC characters that they decided to launch were probably the lamest and least hyped characters they could have thought of, between Kate Bishop and Hawkeye. I don't really think that's what people want to see. People wanted Hawkeye. I'm not debating that. But for your dying game, you're going to release Hawkeye and Kate Bishop back to back as your first two DLC characters when Spider-Man was promised on the cover of at least the PS4 version? That shit is insane to me. But anyways, this whole Black Panther DLC that they got planned out is a step in the right direction, in my opinion. For sure, he's a character that's a lot more interesting than Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, but I don't know if it'll be enough. I just don't know if it'll be enough, but it's surely a step in the right direction. I hope this game can make a comeback, because I had my fun with it. I never finished it, so I guess I sound like a hypocrite, but I had my fun with it for what it was. And if it was revived, I'd probably still play it, honestly.
Its tale of both hope and...
Babylon's Fall is not a game that I necessarily knew anything about, or not a game that I at all knew anything about, but it is from Platinum Games, and I do like Platinum Games, so it looks fun from the gameplay that they showed. So I'm sure it'll be enjoyable. At least, if anything, it'll be enjoyable to play, at the very least. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. I cannot even express how confused I was looking at this trailer. I did not even know what I was looking at for the longest time, until I realized who Garland was. I had no idea what I was looking at. And then when I realized, I was instantly hyped because of the sheer possibilities that this holds. I'm not gonna lie to you and say I'm a Final Fantasy 1 fan. I'm not. I barely even played the game. But the possibilities with this type of series, where they go back and give more insight on things that weren't necessarily covered in games, is crazy. I'm looking forward to it. I feel also like the fact that they're starting out at the first game maybe is a sign that they're thinking of doing this with later games in later entries. Maybe a Final Fantasy 7, maybe a Final Fantasy 10 type of Final Fantasy Origin game. That would be great. I don't know what you do it on necessarily. Maybe Final Fantasy 1 lends itself to that kind of game more than any other Final Fantasy. I don't necessarily agree, but either way, this looks super interesting. And I need to see more gameplay, because they showed like small snippets in the trailer, but I need to see more like constant gameplay before I definitely, say whether or not it looks good or not. But I'll definitely keep an eye on it. Overall, I think this was easily the most surprising presentation. And overall, in my opinion, the most enjoyable presentation. Although obviously that's very subjective, and that's very like, if you don't like these types of games, or if you don't like the franchises that they showed off during the Square Enix presentation, there's probably not much here for you compared to the Xbox presentation, where they showed off, like I said, 30 fucking games, which you're probably going to find something for you in those 30 games. But in my opinion, I enjoyed this presentation the most. And that's about it, I guess.